All right, let's dive into something we all think we know, vitamin D. But I promise you, the real story of the sunshine vitamin is way more interesting and honestly a lot more powerful than most people give it credit for. We're going to go way beyond the basics today.
So let me just start with a kind of wild idea. What if one of the most important vitamins for our health isn't actually a vitamin? That's really the core of what we're going to talk about. See, vitamin D isn't just some nutrient you get. Your body takes it and turns it into a powerful prohormone that basically runs missions all over your system.
So here's our game plan. First, we'll break down why it's really a hormone. Then we'll follow it on its activation journey inside your body. After that, we'll look at what it actually does, the famous stuff and the secret stuff. Then we'll get real about the science, and finally, we'll wrap up with a personal strategy you can actually use. Okay, let's get into this first big idea. This is a huge mindset shift. We're not just talking about a vitamin. We're talking about a complex hormonal system. Vitamin D starts out as one thing and becomes a master regulator of your biology. You know, the key term here is prohormone. All that means is that vitamin D is just the raw material. When you first get it, it's completely inert, it can't do a thing. Your body has to work some amazing magic to turn it into its final active form, a hormone called calcitriol. And get this hormone is so powerful it can literally switch your genes on and off.
So, where do we get this raw material? Well, there are three main ways. The most famous, of course, is the sun. Your skin is a little factory for making vitamin D3. But that's super unreliable, right? It depends on the season, where you live, if you wear sunscreen. Then there's food, but honestly, very few foods have enough to make a real difference. And that leaves supplements, which for a lot of us is the most reliable way to get what we need.
Okay, so once you have that raw vitamin D, it's still just sitting there. It can't do anything yet. It has to go on this critical two-step journey through the body before it can become the hero of the story. This process is just so cool. So you start with the inert raw material. Off it goes to your liver, which does the first conversion, turning it into something called 25-OHD. Now that's the storage form, and it's what doctors actually measure in your blood test. But it's still not the final form. For that, it travels to the kidneys, which perform the final, crucial step, creating the active hormone, calcitriol. That's the molecule that actually gets things done. All right, so now we have our active hero, calcitriol, ready for action. So what are its missions? Well, it has one really famous job that pretty much everyone knows, but its other, more secret roles might be even more important for our long-term health. The classic mission is, of course, bone health. Calcitriol is absolutely essential for helping your gut absorb calcium from your food. Without it, your bones just can't get the building blocks they need. That's what leads to serious problems like rickets in kids and soft bones or osteomalacia in adults. But you know what? That's just the tip of the iceberg. The reason this stuff is so powerful is that we've found vitamin D receptors in pretty much every single cell and tissue in the human body. So, what else is it up to?
I mean, just look at this list. The impact is staggering. It helps fine-tune your immune system. Its receptors are sitting right in the parts of your brain that control your sleep. It influences pathways tied to how sharp your mind is and how your brain ages. And it's vital for your muscles to work properly. This is not just a bone vitamin, it's a whole body regulator.
Okay, this part is so important because this is where we need to be really smart about understanding science. There's a huge difference between a clue that something might be happening and solid proof from a clinical trial that it is. So on one side, you have these observational studies, and they almost all show a link between low vitamin D and all sorts of diseases. But here's the catch. A link doesn't prove that one causes the other. Low D could just be a marker of poor health, not the cause of it. Then, on the other side, you have the gold standard, randomized clinical trials. And they tell a much clearer story. The biggest, most reliable benefits of vitamin D supplements come when you're fixing a real deficiency. And this is a perfect example. The massive VITAL trial gave thousands of healthy people 2,000 IUs of vitamin D every day, and it didn't really move the needle on preventing heart attacks, strokes, or cancer in that group. What does that tell us? It tells us vitamin D isn't some magic bullet for people who already have enough.
So here it is, the key takeaway from all the science. Vitamin D supplementation really truly shines when it's taking someone who is deficient and bringing them back into a healthy, functional range. That's where the evidence is rock solid.
Okay, let's take everything we've learned and turn it into an actual personal strategy. How do we apply all this to our own lives?
First up, if you're looking at a supplement, you'll see two main types, D2
and D3. D2 usually comes from plant sources, but the bulk of the evidence shows that D3 is more powerful and, more importantly, it's way better at keeping your levels up over the long haul.
And please, do not guess what your levels are. You just can't. The only way to know for sure is a simple blood test. Specifically, you want to ask your doctor for a 25-hydroxyvitamin D test, or just 25-OHD. That's the one that measures your storage levels from all sources: sun, food, and supplements.
Now, let's look at these numbers. Anything below 20 and you're officially deficient. But here's the key. Just getting over the line to adequate at 30 might not be the goal. For proactive health, for long-term wellness, a lot of experts are now talking about an optimal range, somewhere between 40 and 80. And you'll also notice there is such a thing as too much, so we're aiming for that healthy sweet spot.
And some of us really need to pay closer attention. If you don't get much sun, if you have darker skin, which is a natural sunblock, if you're an older adult, or if you have certain conditions like obesity where vitamin D can get trapped in body fat, well, your risk of being low is just plain higher.
So let's bring it all home. The new way of thinking about vitamin D isn't just about avoiding a disease of deficiency. It's about proactively and strategically keeping your levels in that optimal 40 to 80 zone to give your body the hormonal support it needs to thrive.
And that really leaves us with a much better question to ask ourselves. Now that you know this isn't just a vitamin, but a master regulator of your genes, the question changes. It's not just, am I getting enough? It's, are my levels truly optimized to support my best health for the long run?